Dawn French, she's been making us laugh for more than 40 years. She's also sold millions of books, and her new novel, Enough. It's about a woman who's not coping very well with ageing, and so a tension-rammed day of family drama ensues shortly after breakfast. I'm in bits in several different ways after reading this. Live from the BBC in London, Dawn French, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Oliver. How are you?
Very well. Are you in fine fettle today?
I really am, yeah.
Excellent.
This is not my story. This book is not
No,
my
not,
plan
okay.
or my story, I hasten to add.
You live in Cornwall a lot these days, is that right?
I do, yeah. My family are from Cornwall. And about 20 years ago, I moved back. I just wanted to be in that beauty and that air, really.
Because I wonder for you, I worry for you coming to London, to the big city, when you're hanging out and looking out. At the
I come up to
oceans.
London, I get excited by cappuccinos, you know.
Really? Are they lacking them down there in Cornwall?
Yeah, we are a bit, yeah.
That's part of the nice bit about it as well.
Yeah.
So Etta, this main character, is like yourself, in her 60s, lives in Cornwall, but not really like you at all, because she shocks her family in a very dramatic and upsetting start to the story.
She does. So Etta, yeah, as you say, is 68 and I am 68. And that's pretty much where the similarities between Etta and I end.
Yeah.
And I've never said it's set in Cornwall, actually, but everybody has assumed that. But that's fine. That's absolutely fine by me because, you know, when you place a novel somewhere in your head, you know, I've cherry-picked many places that I know. So there's a bit of this beach and a bit of that place and a bit of something in Devon and whatever. But it's definitely in the West Country. But yeah, she's 68. She's mentally fit. She's physically fit. Yeah. She's actually not traumatized or wretched in any way. But Etta has made a decision which she thinks is a selfless decision. She's decided that she's not going to put her kids through what she considers might be the difficulties and the hell of old age. So she's decided she's off, and she gathers them all together at the beginning of the day at sunrise, and she explains to them that by sunset she won't be there anymore. So she explodes her family really with this sort of grenade of shock. And she is rather maddeningly casual about it because, of course, she has been thinking about it a long time. Mm-hmm. And she considers what she's doing to be selfless. And, of course, the family think it's extremely selfish. And the rest of the book is about what they do, their arguments to dissuade their mother from doing this. And when I set out to write the book, I realised that I didn't quite know what the ending was going to be. Really? And I thought, OK, I'm going to enjoy becoming each of these characters and I'm going to make their arguments and I'm going to see if I can persuade myself, Dawn the writer, and if I can persuade Etta away from her plan.
And that's the tension of the story. But happily, there are these gorgeous short stories, really, in the alternating chapters that go back through her life. Yeah,
well, do you know, I wanted to do a sort of sweep through a really good and messy life, but with sort of occasional shards of bright memory, a bit like a sort of kaleidoscope. Because the whole book takes place in 24 hours, I thought, well, you don't really know Etta. Mm-hmm. So in order to know her, I've written what I call slices, which is what I think you're referring to, these sort of flashbacks to moments in her life. And there's a slice pretty much from every decade of her life, just to show you that she has had a good life and she's been loved and she has loved many and looked after many and had an interesting, strange and quite normal life in lots of ways.
Yeah. It also shows she's a woman who's tremendous fun, because I loved all those slices.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That's good. Yeah. And the family are, you know, robust, quick-witted. You know, they come to the table with their wit swords drawn and they're ready to have at each other, you know, like a lot of families, like families I know, like my family can be sometimes. And I wanted to also write Lizzie, who is the daughter-in-law, who's quieter, you know, because very often in a lively family like that, somebody who is quieter can be a bit overlooked. Yeah. And part of this book is about a bit of understanding of Lizzie and getting Lizzie to step forward a little bit. I suppose when you decide that you're going to tell your family that that's it, it's a bit like a sort of live suicide note. That's what she's doing. Yeah. Instead of doing the act and then leaving them a note to wonder what what happened, she's giving them the chance to ask her everything they need to ask her. And she says, anything you ask me, I will answer, and I will explain myself to you. And she thinks that's it, nicely done, because she's a bit of a control freak, Etta, and she's very neat. She wants it all organised. But of course, life isn't like that, is it? We know it isn't tidy.
Etta, I couldn't help but notice she says things like not giving a flying feck about something.
Yes.
The word bloody
Yes.
for bloody comes in. These are Irishisms, or maybe curiosities of the West Country.
Well, do you know, they're a little bit Cornishisms, actually, as well.
They travelled over.
Yeah, they did. Well, it's sort of Celts, isn't it? Really?
It is.
That's what it is.
But it just adds this whole extra layer of fun to her. I love the fact that she gets into a battered Jeep, listens to Michael Jackson. She doesn't give a flying feck when anyone thinks of that.
She doesn't. She's listened to that one tape, and it is a tape still, over and over again. She still doesn't know the words.
I plunged in. Without knowing anything about this story, and I did note the warning at the start for readers about references to suicide and your own family experience. It gives you a kind of a claim or a right to write and talk about these things, doesn't it?
I think so, because in a way, I mean, although what happened to my dad, I'm the child of suicide. My dad very sadly took his own life when I was 19. But this was my dad's choices and my dad's situation very different to Etta. Yeah. My dad was clearly in the grip of terrible depressions. I mean, as kids, we didn't know that because my dad was a very cheerful man, but these black dogs would come occasionally and grab him. And I only knew that kind of afterwards, to be honest. He covered it up very well. And I think if my dad had had some talking therapy back then and there wasn't all the shame and the taboo around it, who knows what might have happened. But obviously, since that happened when I was 19, I've had a whole lifetime to go through all the stages of grief about that. And one of the things that I will not accept is the sort of illegality that it was. I don't think it is anymore. The sin that it is, the taboo, the shamefulness, all of that stuff I just can't be doing with it at all. So part of me feels emboldened to write about this subject. I know it's difficult, but of course, if I'm writing a book, I'm going to try and bring humour, gallows humour even, and I'm going to try and bring some joy. And my challenge to myself was to write a life-affirming story about end of life and to write about family and how you can overlook some people's feelings. And really also, to be honest, to write about a woman who is a bit of a control freak, who's made her mind up. And, even in anything in life, if we feel we're right and we've made our mind up, it's very hard to climb off that mountain. Your pride and your righteousness put you in a place where it's very hard to climb down. And I wanted to write that journey and see if she could climb down.
It is about control, isn't it? I don't know if you've heard of Swedish death cleaning. This is where older people clear out their houses, sort out their lives so they're not a burden on their children.
Totally get it. Totally get it.
It's sad in a way because they're thinking, well, they're preparing for the end, but they're also considering themselves to be a burden on others.
Well, maybe. I mean, Etta certainly doesn't want to be a burden, and she doesn't want to be have some kind of elongated, awful, miserable end. So there's a bit of selfishness in there, there's a bit of selflessness in there. Yeah. But her children, when you have kids, frankly, you have a sort of contract that your life doesn't just belong to you, I don't think. Right. You might think it does, and we all want to have agency over our own life, but actually when you've got kids, they've got a right to you as well. And that's what I tried to write in this book, is their voices saying, hang on a minute, we would like to step up. And it might be the case that by the end of the book, maybe everybody is a little bit changed. And maybe what they're noticing is Etta might need a bit more attention.
For sure. Your father, when suicide finally does kill him, your mother, Felicity, she throws herself into life, doesn't she, and looks after other people.
She does. I love that you call her Felicity, which was her name, by the way, but she hated it.
Did she?
Absolutely hated it. So her middle name was Roma. So we all knew her as Roma. Well, I knew her as Mum, obviously, but everybody called her Roma because she absolutely couldn't be doing Felicity. She thought it was far too posh. Her very working class mum gave her that name to try and elevate them.
And she was having
and
none of
my
it.
mum just rejected it completely. But yeah, my mum was amazing and a very strong woman who dealt with all the devastation of what happened with my dad and then just stepped into her power in a way she might not have. I wouldn't have wished her to get there that way, obviously. But she was, Titan and Amazon and amazing. And she became mum and dad to us,
Yeah.
and she worked until she was 75 and she
Really?
died when she was 77. So that's young, that's young.
It is.
And in fact, she had a fear. My mum had a fear. You're reminding me now. My mum had a fear of being a burden to us. And I remember her saying, listen, lock me in my house and feed pasties through the door. That's all I want. And I thought, well, actually, no, that's not what we're going to do. Of course, that's not what we're going to do. But so there's an element of, my battles with my mum's need to control her life in this book.
I think it was lung cancer, was it, in the end?
It was, yeah. And I think, on reflection, I think she might have been suffering it much longer than we knew and covering it up.
Really?
And so by the time we did find out, literally, there were weeks left. She didn't even get a chance to start the chemotherapy, to be honest.
She did have some control, I think, towards the end, did she?
She certainly did, and that was a majestic thing to witness. She was in the hospital in Derriford in Plymouth, where we all live, and she knew she was dying, and it was difficult. My mum had smoked since she was 8 years old. Her lungs were shattered, and she knew that it was the end. And she'd said to us, she wasn't scared to die. She was scared that she couldn't breathe. That was her fear.
Right.
And this wonderful woman came in who was the palliative care doctor, and said it was very respectful to my mum and said, "I know you, Roma. I know what you've done for this city," because my mum did an awful lot. She, to help people. She founded all kinds of charities that help people with drug and alcohol problems and stuff. She founded various places, and she was extraordinary and well respected. And this woman said, "I know who you are, and I respect you for what you've done. And now let me do my job. What do you want? What would you like to happen?" And my mum said, "I want to go to sleep and I don't want to wake up." And we went, okay. And so my mum had agency over that moment.
Yeah.
And this wonderful doctor just said, okay, this is what we're going to do, and explained to her what would happen. So we had a few hours with my mum where all the grandchildren could come. We all said what we needed to say. We had a few laughs, whatever. And then my mum started she actually was on the Liverpool care pathway, which I think is slightly different now. I don't know enough about it, but that's what at that time they started her with that. And my mum made this choice, and that was that. And it was kind of beautiful in a way, because it was all her choices right till the end.
Extraordinary ending.
Yeah.
And she just gets to slip away after her goodbyes,
Yeah.
after living that amazing life.
Yeah, and say everything. And just, took her rings off and gave them to me with a big wink, saying, "You'll want these. You can pawn them if you like." It's okay. I have no regrets over what happened with my mum. No regrets whatsoever. So I think agency, control, decisions are important. But where the fine line is, that's what I wanted to write about in this book, because I don't even know myself. I wanted to explore it. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know.
You have kind of discussed as assisted dying, assisted suicide, but with 1,000 caveats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that again is not what's happening in this book. But
No.
yes, when my own opinion about that, having witnessed deaths of various older people in my life and in my husband's life and stuff, is that really, absolutely, really, I think it's a no-brainer. But of course, I don't know enough about the legislation. Of course, that has to be taken into consideration. We're talking about family members, lawyers, doctors, everybody's advice, and most importantly, the agency of the person involved. If they're very poorly, or if they know this, or if they're in 20 kinds of hell, of course that must be what happens. But I'm prepared to debate it. I'm prepared to hear why my thinking might be misguided.
The philosophers have been thinking about it for a long time.
I know.
You have a brother, Gary?
I do.
What happens to the sibling relationships when both parents are gone? And this is relatively young for the pair of you.
Yeah. Well, when my dad died, our square became a triangle. And we never stopped talking about my dad. We're very joined, my mum, my brother and I. When my mum died, you become a line, So there's a sort of line between the two of you that is very strong. Only you two have experienced all this stuff.
Yeah.
Only you two were brought up in that house. We're very different. We're Oh, we're a bit like the family in this book in as much as we will take each other on. You know, my brother and I love each other and have had our moments. We've, especially when we were teenagers, you know, we begrudged each other massively. But as we've got older, I've moved to very close to where he lives. And I said to him, look, I've seen a nice house. I want to move there, but it's close to you. It's your patch. Do you mind? And he went, look, we're getting old. Let's get old close by. I thought, hey,
lovely.
okay, great. Finally, my brother likes me. Yeah, but you know, I'm very attached to my brother and his family, and his family are my family, and so you know, yeah. Family, and again, this book, that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, we're
it's
hearing.
Everything.
I'm having just read it. The relationships between siblings and between Etta and her granddaughter Pearl. In the story. I mean, you have a granddaughter as well.
I do. It's been a most remarkable experience. I mean, I stood by and watched Jennifer have, I think, 5 grandchildren before I managed to get one. And I was a bit jealous, and I did borrow them occasionally just to sniff them, you know. But I am really delighted now. This relationship, the relationship, I mean, I saw it with my own mother and my daughter. I saw how special it is. And it actually leaves you out, funnily enough. I mean, there is a thing, when you've got a grandchild, you sort of vicariously re-love your daughter again through this grandchild. That happens. But frankly, she can get out the way so that I have direct access to the grandchild who can do no wrong.
Do you also allow your granddaughter to say swear words like Etta doesn't?
100% yes. 100% yes.
Get it out of your system.
But with the lesson about being appropriate and getting into trouble. But what we do is make up words. We make up words that you can't really be told off for because they're not real words. We know what they mean. So yes, I'm in favour of that.
This is, again, the fun that's in Etta all of the time. Even when she's referring to her...
she's full of mischief. Yeah. You're full of it.
There's the love cheat of a husband, and I love this line, which I'll amend for broadcast. It turns out the only thing he didn't fook was off.
I've forgotten about that, yes.
That's amazing, I love it.
Yes.
She's a fun woman, as I say, but she's in a way unheard, unseen by her family. Whereas you've been visible all your life. You've had no career slump. You're a very trusted public figure, which is extremely rare nowadays to keep that going.
I guess so. I mean, I don't quite know how that happens. I didn't set out for that to happen. I think when you won't go away, you just become a fixture, don't you? Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that you should let the public witness your decrepitude and then they're not shocked. You know, if you disappear for 20 years and then come back, up. But I think if you just constantly keep being there, they just gradually come on the journey with you and it's okay.
You've managed to avoid scandal, Dawn French, I think, is one of the big things.
I think so, yeah.
That's kind of crucial.
I mean, I've had the scandals. I just keep them quiet and, you know, private stuff is private, isn't it? It doesn't, you know. And what's a scandal anyway, really? Life is just life and it's got its gritty stuff. We've all got it. I don't know why people judge other people for the stuff they all do and go through anyway. We love a whipping boy. We love we love a scandal. It's unfortunately, I think our media have taught us to be a bit like that.
I know. Do
you remember the circles of shame that used to be on the magazines? Do you remember those?
Oh, God, magazines.
Do you remember? It's like, you know, if somebody, I don't know, hadn't shaved their armpits or something.
That's right,
you know, circle of shame. Just absolutely mad.
I remember Sack the Stylist was a thing
aspire people to. The stylist. Or if your bra's showing through your dress. Apparently that's a giant sin. You know, it's mad. It's mad.
You probably had some of those. Did you some attempted slurs against you?
Oh yeah. But you know, listen, I'm too long in the tooth.
You're
and you know, when you're 68 and you've had a relatively cheerful life and you've loved other people and you've felt loved by them, you know, people in my family I'm talking about. In the end, you know your heart, you know the shape of your heart, you know who you are. So when other people might accuse you of not being that, you think, well, you're wrong. I know what I am and I know what I feel and I know where my kindnesses are and I know where my opinions are. And I have to stand by them. And, you know, a bit like Etta, it's quite hard to come off that mountain when you think, yeah, I know what I think.
I think we'll take that lesson with ourselves today. Thank you very much.
Good. Good. Sorry to sound bossy, but on the other hand, not at all sorry.
You've said on your podcast with Jennifer Saunders, which is Titting About.
Yes.
You do plan to grow old disgracefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, not too disgracefully. I'm not going to go flashing myself to outside a boys' school. It's not going to be like that. But I'm also not going to shut up either.
And you're going to reunite on the stage of the London Palladium.
Oh my goodness,
Absolute
we are.
filth on the stage.
And I don't know if you have ever seen a panto at the Palladium.
No.
In London, but I've never done any other panto because this is this is the flagship. You were talking about a full orchestra, dancers, singers, and Julian Clary in 13 different outfits, and amazing cast, and hilarious and smutty. I think the Guardian described it as a tsunami of smut, and that is honestly what it is. I've never been in anything as rude as this panto. I've done 2 of them. Jennifer did one, and I thought, all right, I've done that now, because it is exhausting. You work all over Christmas.
How many shows?
You do 2 shows a day, 6 days a week for 6 weeks.
That's
honestly, you're dead. You're dead at the end of it. And but it's hilarious. You don't get Christmas. You don't have Christmas, but you sort of are Christmas.
Oh yeah, you are Christmas. Yes, for all of those weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and people pay a lot of money to come and see a Palladium panto, so it better be good. And along they come with Cinderella. So of course we've got to play the Ugly Sisters. Of course we have. So and I'm going for a fitting for one of our costumes actually on Friday. I'm looking forward to it.
Very good. So is this the first time together you've done the panto?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
the Ugly Sisters.
And I wanted Jennifer to have a go at it so that she could see what it is, because it is a bit of a mountain to climb. And I just wanted her to, and she did it a couple of years ago. And afterwards I said, once she'd had time to recover at the end of it, because Julian Clary gets on a plane to, I don't know, to Seychelles or something, literally the day after, because you're a husk of a person by then. And we're elderly, don't forget that, with wobbly knees and incontinence pants. Well, that's Jennifer I'm talking about, obviously, not me.
That sounds incredible. Nigel Havers, who we last saw in Downton Abbey in white tie and tails. I mean,
yes.
How they've convinced all of these people.
Yes, he's in it every year. And honestly, he just comes on and sort of asks if he can be in the scene, and everyone says, no, get lost. And that's kind of what he does every year. And people are furious if he's not there. So he comes on, honestly, it's ridiculous. But he is a naughty boy. He will distract you off stage. He will tell you all kinds of filthy jokes. And he is the master of the martini. So he makes he's got a special fridge, so he will even freeze the glass, which is vintage crystal, antique crystal, and he will spray the glass with vermouth. And I don't know how he does it, but he knows how to make a martini. So when you finish, as you're taking all your wig off and everything, a little martini with a little tiny bag of nuts arrives at your
London
dressing
Palladium.
table.
Wow.
At the Palladium every night.
This is really why you're doing it.
Yes. For the alcohol.
For the matinee.
Correct.
And everything.
Yes. No, not after the matinee. Definitely not.
Listen,
definitely not.
It's been almost 40 years, I think, since French and Saunders began on the BBC.
I think that's right, yeah. Well, I'm 68 now, and I think we started when I was about 22 or something, so I can't do maths, but something like that, yeah.
I have to mention a personal favourite, which people definitely in Ireland will remember. Various piss takes of all the bands, particularly the Cranberries, which were the Raspberries.
Yes. That was Jennifer. She did so well.
You appear in a big anorak.
I do appear in it, but she had it off completely, yeah. And the Cause, we went there.
Oh my God, the Cause. You play 100 Sisters.
I do play 100 Sisters, and is Jennifer Jim? I can't remember. One of us is
trying
Jim.
to get into frame.
Trying to be part of it, yeah. Trying to be part of it.
It's amazing.
Can I give a little plug to somebody?
Oh, do, yeah.
Yesterday, I did a podcast with 2 amazing girls, Irish girls, who have got a podcast called Oh Right Yeah. And it's Laura O'Connell and Abby, and they are hilarious. And they came over to London to do this podcast. I mean, they've been posting about it like absolute mad. Okay, right. But they've got this podcast just started, and they're just so funny. They are absolutely worth following and worth listening to.
Okay, that's very kind of you. We're definitely
well, of course. I mean, listen, young women being funny, I'm all for it.
We're for it.
Do you know what's great is when Jennifer and I started out, I could tell you all 4 funny women that were in work, and now I don't know all their names. And hooray for that!
That is the difference, which took a while, but is finally here.
Yeah,
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, Oliver, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
The new book is Enough, published by Penguin. They tell us it's out now. Dawn French, good morning.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Oliver